It's time for Recipe of the Day. Every year as we approach Halloween, I make a pot of garlic soup to keep the vampires away. That's the excuse that I give. Really, it's just because I like garlic soup and I like having a way to remember that it's time to make some. If you've never had it before, this is actually a classic soup for the south of France that is thickened with bread. Really interesting, right? So what you're essentially doing is just taking bread, chopping it up, adding it to the simmering soup. It soaks up all the liquid and then you puree it, and that acts as the same kind of thickener that like flour or cornstarch would do. You see what I mean? Really nice, and it's a great way to use up any kind of leftover stale bread, any bread like that. I will just say that whatever bread you use, the flavor can transfer to the soup. So the first time that I made this, I used like a grainy bread, maybe even like a sourdough grainy bread. It had this like sour grain flavor in the soup. It was good. It was just like, oh, I could taste that the bread is in here. The next time I made it, and since then I've used a white bread, like just a plainer bread, and then it just has that rich thickness, but it doesn't taste like bread, if that makes sense. Okay, how do you make this soup? So this is one of my 15-minute soups. So it starts with this technique that you've probably heard me talk about before, where you measure some broth into a big microwave-safe bowl and you put that in the microwave for like 7 minutes. This is a big pot of soup. It's 7 cups of broth. So that is going into the microwave. Oh, and I'll just say that this is a vegetarian soup essentially because you could use vegetable broth or there's no meat in it. You can use chicken broth if you want to. And there is sour cream added at the end, but if you want to skip that and make it vegan, that is also totally possible. Okay, your broth is heating in the microwave out of the way while you do the rest of the stuff. Now you're going to get out your soup pot, kind of a Dutch oven sized pot, and you're going to put some olive oil in there over medium heat. And while that's heating up, you can chop up an onion, then add the onion to that pot, and then you're going in with 15 cloves of garlic. That sounds like a lot, but it's going to mellow out. We're cooking it. It's going to have a beautiful, rich flavor. Now you're not putting them in whole. You're actually going to chop them up. So you can buy already peeled garlic, which is going to save you time here, or you can peel the garlic, 15 cloves. I just trim the little end off and then I put them all on the cutting board and I take my big like chef knife, big knife, and just go back and forth running it through there over and over and over again until it's nice and chopped up. Once that's chopped, you're adding it to the onion, but just for like a minute. You don't want it to risk getting bitter. Season it with salt and pepper. And then at that point, if your microwave is done cooking that broth, done heating that broth, the 7 minutes is up, grab it out of there. If it's not done, take it out anyways, because we do want to stop that garlic from having that chance of burning. So you're going to get that broth heated at least a little bit, and it's going to be added to the onion and garlic mixture in the pot. Give it a stir, cover it up, and increase the heat to high. You're bringing that up to a little boil. While that is coming up to heat, you're going to get out your bread. It's 6 slices of bread, fresh or stale. Like I said, probably white bread if you don't want to taste the bread flavor, but if you want to taste that graininess, go for something whole wheat or grainier. So your 6 slices of bread, you're chopping those into cubes, and then you're adding that to the soup pot. Give it a stir, put the lid back on. The soup is probably simmering by around now anyways. Give it some stirring. Make sure that that bread is really well soaked through, and then you're going to puree it. If you have an immersion blender, I like to take the pot off the heat before I use the immersion blender. I'm always kind of worried that I'm going to like burn the cord. So take it off the heat and then use the immersion blender right in that pot. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can use a normal blender, stand-up blender. You're going to have to do this in a few batches. Probably you want it very smooth. And then you're also just going to be careful whenever you use something hot in your blender that you're allowing the steam to escape. Usually a blender has that little circular thing in the middle of the top of the lid. You take that out and then you put a cloth over top instead, and that just doesn't have a tight seal happening, so you're not going to build up pressure in your blender and end up with a mess. So a nice cloth on top of there, blend it till smooth. You'll probably have to do more than one batch, and then taste it and add more salt and pepper if you'd like. Then you're just ladling it into bowls. You can top it with the sour cream if you wanted to. I like some green onion on there, and dig in, keep those vampires far away, and continue enjoying the lead up to Halloween. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date. So it's helpful to know that today is October 28th of 2024. And I want to say, I mention a lot how much I love when you guys leave comments and ratings on the recipes that you make from my websites that you love. And I just wanted to let you know that I've started sharing some of those on Instagram stories and on Facebook. So if you are following me, or if you're not, go and follow me. I am Cook the Story in those places and on TikTok too. And maybe you will see one of your comments show up there. I'm doing them like right on the pictures. I think they look pretty cute. So yeah, find me on social media. I am Cook the Story, and you will see one of your comments soon. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.